Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of She Talks Business. Shout out to Carrie Brock. You shared my podcast this morning on Facebook and said that it was exactly what you needed, and you inspired me to get back in the seat and record again today. Gotta tell you, today we're going to talk about the 5-25 rule. And if you have not heard about the 5-25 rule, it is going to make you think differently. So, I recently learned about Warren Buffett's 5-25 rule from a book that I am reading. And of course, my memory is drawing a blank right now. Excuse me, I am going to look on my phone because I know I have a picture of this book on my phone because I have been sharing it with people. It is called The 5 Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom, a transformative guide to design your dream life. So, this is where I read about and heard about the 5-25 rule. So let me tell you what this rule is. It's very, very simple, but it's very, very effective, and I dare you to try it. So number one, grab a piece of paper and sit down, and I want you to write down the top 25 goals you have for your business. Just fill the page with the 25 goals that you have and write it all down. Whatever you have on your mind, write it down. Then what you're going to do is you're going to prioritize them from 1 to 25. You don't even actually have to prioritize them all, but what you do have to do is you have to prioritize the top 5. You want to circle the 5 that are the most important goals that you have written on that page. And it can only be 5, and it's better if it is 3. But for the purpose of the 5-25 rule, 5 will do. Once you have circled those 5, you're going to grab 2 new pieces of paper. And on the top of the first one, you are going to make a list of your goals, and you're going to list those 5 things. On the top of the next page, I'm going to tell you what to write after. You're going to write down the remaining 20 things. And guess what you are going to write on the top of this? You are going to write avoid at all costs. Yes, avoid at all costs. These now become your stop doing list. These 20 things, they don't matter because you can't do all 25. You had to pick the 3 to 5 that were most important. The other 20, they need to go into a little safe, a little back burner compartment. They need to go somewhere that you can grab them later, but you do not have permission now to work on those 20 things until you have accomplished the 5 that you have deemed to be most important. It sounds easy enough to do, but it's not. And let me tell you why. 1, entrepreneurs are creative beings. We have all the ideas in the world. We think everything is possible. And you've all heard the saying, right? You can do anything, but you cannot do everything. But when you try to do everything, what happens is you lose your inspiration for the most important things. Your attention becomes so fragmented that it becomes really, really, really difficult for you to stay the course. In my experience working with entrepreneurs, I see that people lose their inspiration for ideas when things get hard, when they take too long, or when a new shiny idea comes up. It's like, oh, I want to go do that thing. So now the thing that you were currently working on is no longer that important. And I can tell you that for myself. It's my book, right? I've been working on this book for months now. And every time something else comes up, it's like, oh, my attention goes here. So I need to do my own list of 25 things. And I need to identify my own 5 that are going to be the priority. And that may mean some things need to suffer. So, one of my goals is to blog every week. One of my goals is to podcast every other week. One of my goals is to write content for my money mentorship. And one of my goals is to write a book. Oh, I forgot. One of my goals is to do more video content. Oh, and one of my goals is to, have more in-person events this year. I have too many goals. You probably can relate because if you're an entrepreneur, you feel like you can do anything. And so what happens is your attention becomes so divided amongst all the things that you fail to get any real momentum on any one thing. And then what happens? The itty bitty shitty committee moves in. And all of a sudden you're down on yourself and you can't rely on yourself and you're demotivated and it's hard and the stories start and then you are off track instead of being on track and being inspired and feeling really good about what it is you're doing. When you reduce the number of goals and hyper focus on the top 3 to 5, guess what happens? You can dedicate more time, more energy, more effort, more commitment towards those things. You know, a lot of us say that we don't have enough time, we don't have enough skill, or we don't have enough money. And the truth is, it's usually none of those things. It's the lack of faith, effort, and long-term commitment. We don't go all in on what is most important and put forth extraordinary effort. We don't always have faith or belief in our ability to do it, and we don't stay committed long-term. A lot of times, the minute it gets hard, we throw our hands up in the air and we walk away. Or in my case, momentum loves speed is one of my favorite expressions. If my team can't mobilize on an idea fast enough for me, it's like somebody took the air out of my balloon and all of a sudden the idea, it doesn't float anymore. So it's really important as an entrepreneur that you recognize why, and how to stay all in on the things that are most important to you. So I have a question for you. I may have talked about this guy on the podcast before, I'm not sure. Someone I know, Hal Elrod, have you ever heard of him? He wrote the book, The Miracle Morning. So Hal, when he wrote this book, it feels like a million years ago, it was quite some time ago, his goal when he wrote this book was to sell 1 million copies. 1 million copies. You know that the average self-published book sells less than 200 copies, and this dude wants to sell 1 million copies? Like, how big of a freaking goal is that? It's a ginormous goal. And so the very first year, Hal does all the things. He gets on the speaking circuit. He travels all over the country. He does videos. He does it all. And guess what? He sold 13,000 copies. What is that? 1% of the goal? 1.3% of the goal of selling 1 million? So, not to be deterred, the next year he goes all in again. He does all the things. And guess what? 100,000 copies. 2 years, 10% of his goal. So then he tries again and again and again and again. And guess what? It took him 6 years. 6 years to sell 1 million copies of his book. I don't know authors who keep marketing their books for 6 months, let alone 6 years. What have you ever been committed enough to keep at it for 6 years? I'm going to guess not enough. I'm going to guess that there's something out there that you were really passionate about, that you really were fired up about, you really wanted to do, and you didn't stick with it long enough to find out if you could actually do it. I've seen it. I've heard women, I want to build a community. I want to inspire 1 million people. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, bleh, 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 bleh. As soon as it gets hard, they give up. You have to stop doing that. Hal has this thing that he calls the miracle equation. That's what it's called. And he said, you need 2 things. You only need 2 things. 1, unwavering faith. And 2, extraordinary effort until. Not just extraordinary effort until you reach your goal. If you have unwavering faith in yourself, if you put forth extraordinary effort until you reach your goal, you act as if you cannot stop until the goal is accomplished. Imagine if you did that for the biggest goal you have in your business, whether it's $1 million in sales, whether it's paying yourself $250,000, whether it's impacting 1 million lives, whether it's selling 10,000 copies or 1 million copies of your book. What if you had faith and you acted in alignment with that faith until you reached the goal? Well, let me tell you something. If you have 25 goals on the go at the same time, you're never going to be able to do that. So if you simplify what your goals are and you learn how to prioritize and you learn how to let go of the things that are not the most important, and then you put forth that extraordinary effort until, and you keep the faith and the belief that you can do it, you can accomplish extraordinary things. It would have been easy to give up both faith and effort after 2 years. But when you believe in yourself and you believe in the mission, you believe in the goal and the impact that it's going to have, you stick with it. Hal has written countless books since. His book has been turned into a movie, I believe. He's overcome cancer. He has used the same miracle equation to do really, really hard stuff in life. And he's just a normal guy. He's just a normal guy. He's not special. He's not better than you are or better than I am, but he's different. He's different because he has faith, and he's different because he doesn't give up until he reaches his goal. So if you learn anything from that today, ask yourself, do I have faith, and am I in it for the long term? Am I willing to invest 6 years of my life towards reaching a goal? Let's talk about Warren Buffett again. Warren Buffett is one of the most successful investors and businessmen in history. He has a net worth exceeding $100 billion. And do you know how he built his fortune? Through disciplined investing and long-term strategy, not fads, not chasing the hottest new IPO, through disciplined investing and long-term strategy. Warren Buffett also has unwavering faith in the companies that he invests in, and he puts in extraordinary effort when it comes to doing his research and staying the course with the businesses that he invests in order for him to reach his financial goals. He's not new to this. He's been doing it for over 60 years. He avoids debt, he sticks to his principles, and he invests in businesses with strong fundamentals. Because he knows to do those things, he has faith, and he is able to put the effort in long term, over and over and over again. So what about you? Do you know what your goals are? Do you really know what your goals are? Do you really know, one of the other things in this book is who's going to sit in the front row at your funeral? It's a really profound question. Who will be in the front row at your funeral? Meaning, whose lives will you impact the most? Is there something that your soul is calling you to do? Is there something that you just, at the end of my life, I just really want to be known for someone who did this? If you know what that is, do you actually have a goal that is aligned with helping you become that person? And are you committed enough to stick to that goal and put forth extraordinary effort until you reach it? Do you have faith in yourself? You know how you build faith in yourself? You do things that you say you will do over and over again. You keep your word to yourself. If you say I'm going to exercise every day, you do. If you say I'm going to quit eating gluten, you do. If you say these are my 3 most important goals and I'm only going to focus on them, guess what? You do it. If you say you're not going to use credit cards for debt, you stick to your word. That's how you build faith in yourself. That's how you learn that you can do hard things. Do you surround yourself with people who believe in you, people who see your potential, people who rally for you? Or do you keep your goals to yourself? Are you a lone wolf trying to do it all on your own? Or are you actually getting your ass into the right rooms with the right people that are going to encourage you and support you so you can keep going? I know for a fact that Hal didn't do it alone. I know that he invested in masterminds, whether it was investing money or time, because I actually know one of my clients was in a little mastermind with him because they all had books that came out at the same time. I don't think they actually invested in it, but I think they invested in each other, meaning they all showed up. They all supported each other for a period of time while they were promoting their books. So what about you? Do you have that community that is helping you? But are you willing to put in the effort? That's the real question. One of my favorite questions to ask myself this year is, what would this look like if I was actually putting forth extraordinary effort? What would this look like if I was actually putting in the effort that I'm capable of? Are you putting in what you're really capable of? Are you asking yourself regularly whether or not the effort that you put forth is enough? Are you willing to stick with it when it's hard? Or do you give up the first time something doesn't go exactly the way you planned it to? Will you show up when you don't feel like it? I tell you, I don't feel like recording a podcast. I'm recording a podcast on a Saturday today. And I'm recording it because I've been traveling the last 2 weeks and I haven't had an opportunity to sit in front of my computer and do this. But it's Saturday and I'd much rather be sitting in front of the TV right now watching the Tennessee basketball game. But no, I'm here because I need to do things when they're hard. And I know when I get behind on my podcast, if I don't get back in the seat and do these things, then I'm going to fall off the wagon permanently. So I'm taking imperfect action, and you need to take imperfect action too. And most importantly, you need to take that action when you least feel like doing it. And then you need to ask yourself, are you prepared to stick with it long term? If someone told you today that it was going to take you 6 to 10 years to achieve that big ass goal you have, would you give up or would you stick with it? Would you continue to move forward with as much effort as you can muster? Would you continue to learn and grow and do the things that you need to do to achieve your goals? Most people won't. Most people start on the race, but they never finish the journey. The people who finish the journey are not different. They're not special. They just stuck with it. You can stick with it. All you have to do is remind yourself every day, what is the goal? Why does that goal matter to me? Am I putting forth the effort? And am I putting forth extraordinary effort until I reach the goal? Or am I going to allow myself to cop out? Greatness doesn't come from a cop out. Greatness comes from sticking with the thing long enough to make it happen. You know, success isn't always sexy and the road isn't always easy. You ask anyone who's achieved great things in their lives or their business, and they'll tell you all the obstacles they had to overcome along the way. They'll tell you how hard it was. There's no one that's going to tell you it was easy because it's not. We have this belief because we look at what other people do and we see the tip of the iceberg and we think that they're doing things that were easy. We don't understand what it took to get there. We don't understand the days where they had doubt, the days that they didn't believe in themselves, the days that people said things that made them second guess whether they were meant to do this and how they overcame those things. You want to surround yourself with people that help you shift the story back to what's possible versus what's impossible. And if you don't have those people in your life, you need to find those people in your life. Jim Rohn said, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I believe that. Surround yourself with people that make you believe that you can do the things that you really aspire to do in life. If the goal matters enough to you, you will stick with it. You too can have unwavering faith, and you too can put in extraordinary effort if it matters. But my friend, you cannot do that. You cannot do that if everything is prioritized the exact same way. So go grab a pen and a piece of paper and sit quietly and ask yourself, what are your top 25 goals? And then circle the number 5. Circle the 5 that are the most important. Put the other 20 on a list and put whatever you need to do in place to avoid those 20 things until you've reached the 5 that you say are most important. Thanks for listening to this episode of She Talks Business, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now.